Hi everyone, Nubkeks here. I'm going to bring you a quick video today going through all the patch notes for this week's PTR update. We're getting close, guys. You can see the whole new season has now been fully implemented in the game, including the new Mythic Plus affix, which I will do a video on very soon. I'm going to try to get a group as soon as I've actually recorded this video. Let's dive into the patch notes, though, to show you exactly what they've changed. So first of all, Death Knights, Anti-Magic Zone. This has received a few different changes, sort of just tinkering with the rework they've given it. So it's now back to a 2-minute cooldown. So it is a 2-minute cooldown, the exact same cooldown as it is on live servers right now. It does, however, only last for 8 seconds. And although it does still give you that 20% damage reduction, it now fades away after it absorbs 150% of the caster's health. So let's say, roughly speaking, that's rough estimate, say you have about 50,000 health in Chains of Domination with the proper gear. So it would absorb 75,000 damage, would be absorbed by this anti-magic zone. Now, of course, because it's only absorbing actually like 20% of the damage that is done to you, it's going to take a lot of damage to break through that 75,000, like what, 350 something thousand, 375,000, something like that. It's a lot. That is a lot. So for solo play, this obviously has really no effect. It just lasts slightly less time. For even dungeon play or for PvP play, this really won't have too much effect on you. The big place that this impacts, of course, is raid. This is a massive nerf for raid, right? So now the new anti-magic zone, let's say it's going to absorb about 75,000 raid-wide damage. I would say, like, let's say on Mythic Council of Blood, for example, we exploited anti-magic zone massively. I'd say on Mythic Council of Blood, like an anti-magic zone was, I can't remember the exact numbers. I think it was something like 1 or 2 million. So going from 1 or 2 million damage reduction, which would obviously be even higher, scaled up for Sanctum of Domination levels, to 75,000. It's quite a drop there for raid. So that's a huge nerf. It's probably the weakest raid external thing for raid now. I think Rallying Cry from the Warriors is much better. It doesn't actually heal you, but that temporary health lets you live through big bursts of damage. And then Darkness does actually, effectively do healing, but it is random. Anti-Magic Zone isn't more consistent, but it's relatively limited. I mean, at the same time, though, like, whatever, 150% of caster's health, it's better than Lay on Hands, but instead of being a targeted player thing, it's just sort of spread out around the raid, which is probably less valuable. But yeah, we'll see. Raid targeted nerf. Let me know what you think. We'll see. For Druids, this is actually a fairly big nerf. Well-honed Instincts, the conduit cooldown's been increased by 50% to all ranks. This is the conduit that procs a free frenzied regen whenever you drop below, 40% health? So that's a lot of free survivability. That has been toned down, which I think is fair. Balanced Druids, especially in raid, very noticeably, we're just like unkillable effectively. So yeah, that's being toned down, which makes sense. For monks, Mistweaver, Soothing Mist channels, no longer interrupted by Mana Tea or Zen Focus Tea. I feel like Zen Focus Tea, I feel like that's a PvP talent, but I could be wrong. Mana Tea is obviously just a regular talent. I think this is just a nice change. Might affect, again, I feel like this affects Arena more, where every single little global counts. And it's just going to feel better as well. It's going to feel a lot more usable. So I think this is a great change. It's a really nice change. So that's good. For Priests, then, fixed an issue for Shadow that prevented Death and Madness from granting Insanity and resetting the cooldown of Shadow or Death when it was cast as the target dies. Yeah, so this is actually a really annoying bug that happens quite a bit. So I think that's great to change. There's a little bit of a grace period. I'm not sure exactly how this works precisely. I think it's just something to do with, like, whatever, the slight bit of lag with the game and your PC. And yeah, you cast it, but he's actually dead. And I don't know, something weird. For Rogues, Serrated Bone Spike with a Necrolord, the bleed now properly benefits from critical strike chance. So that's just going to make it actually work properly. A fairly minor change. For Covenants, this is just a PTR thing. Yes, it is. Trinketar, so this is just for testing on PTR, so you can ignore that. Now, this is the big one. The new seasonal affix, Tormented. Servants of the Jailer can be found throughout the dungeon and grant powerful boons when defeated. If a servant is not dealt with, they empower the final boss. And again, this is just for PTR testing. This is kind of nuts, right? This is very, very like the Awakened affix from the end of BFA. Essentially, a quick preview. Let me see. If I drag this over, A quick preview is there's going to be 4 lieutenants. Again, thanks to Wowhead for putting this together, and I'm going to do a proper look at it later. But there are going to be 4 lieutenants. If you don't defeat them, and by the way, they don't reset health on wipe. They have true sight. They don't give count. It looks like they're going to be sort of out of the way on the sides, so they might be avoidable. One of them will give 50% move speed reduction when you're fighting the last boss. That's pretty rough on some bosses. One of them puts a dot on you. One of them reduces the healing you receive by half. You might get away with this on fortified weeks, for example. One of them gives you 50% increased physical damage taken. So again, might get away with it on fortified weeks. So we will see. Yeah, and then each of these is tied into a specific lieutenant. So you've got the Incinerator, who does who just puts this dot on you. That's his aura. Fire damage makes sense. He's going to leave these patches on the floor. He's going to do dispellable debuffs. Doesn't look too bad. Pretty straightforward, as they say. Oros Cold Heart is going to give you the slow. A very big slow, and then he's going to yeah, it looks like he's just going to do some AoE damage, and then he's also looks like going to do these frontal attacks, so just dodge those. So also pretty easy here. Sogadon the Breaker, they've no picture. He's the one that increases physical damage taken. Very dangerous on some bosses, probably not so bad on others, or certainly on fortified. He has a massive smash, knocks people away. And then, yeah, he reduces people. Yeah, okay, cool. But he'll be slower, so you have to kite him around. So he'll become slow, but do 200% more damage. So the tank just has to kite him. That's fine. And then the last one is Executioner. That makes you get 50% less healing. He will do massive damage to the tank. And he will, yeah, okay, charge to a target. And he'll do damage to everyone nearby and bleed everyone. Apparently this guy's pretty tough. Unavoidable bleeds, so he's going to be rough. Yeah, again, fortified, you might get away with it. Now, the fun thing is that you're going to get these anima powers. That's what's fun about this, is you will get anima powers. They are role dependent. They're not RNG from early reports. You're going to get the same selection from every lieutenant, which is really interesting. We'll go through these in more detail in the video, but just to give you a preview, you get stuff like this. Above 70% health, your haste or crit is increased by 8%, always the highest one. While in combat, if there are 5 or more enemies within 10 yards of you, you're going to release these waves of shadow damage, doing damage every 5 seconds up to 5 enemies, so just free AoE. Crumbling Bulwark, your versatility is increased by 3%. When entering combat, damage taken is reduced by 40% for 3 seconds. So these are some examples of what you might get. There's absolutely loads of these. There's loads of them. So we will go through those in the actual video specifically dedicated. But general impressions, this seems like it's very, very cool. Hunt down those lieutenants, get some cool powers, and keep scaling up over the course of the dungeon. You can maybe skip some of them depending on the affixes for the week. In terms of items rewards, Cardboard Assassin, a Cataclysm Engineering Tinker, now shares a cooldown with potions. Its stats no longer scale past level 35. So I think this was essentially bugged or unintended. This was exploitable for dungeons and stuff, so that's been nerfed. Kind of expected. We have new warrior power, specifically. Just one, which is Elysian Might. This is the new warrior power, which it's their new legendary. Spear of Bastion's duration increased by 4 seconds, and while you remain within Spear of Bastion's area, your critical strike damage is increased by 25%. So I believe this brings a Spear of Bastion up to an 8-second duration of tethering people that are hit to the point, and also it should increase the duration of the dot it does as well. And then, yeah, just more crit strike damage. This seems very strong with Fury in particular, because Recklessness, their cooldown, you sync that up with Spear of Bastion. Recklessness increases your critical strike chance. So you're critting more, people are stuck in there with you, and you're just going nuts and doing lots of crit strike damage. That could be pretty cool. I think this is quite fun. And also has that nice utility in actually tethering people. So I think that's a pretty cool legendary right there. Then finally, Torghast has received a slight rework to the empowerment system. Save souls, defeat the jailer's forces, become empowered, allowing you to more effectively crush your foes, blah, blah, blah. Now, what has actually happened? Let's cover the developer's note first. Let's do that. We want to thank everyone for taking the time to provide the feedback on updates to Torghast. The team has been reading through and iterating the design based on your feedback. A specific change we've made focuses around the common feedback that the empowered bar creates a feeling of time pressure that was negatively impacting the playstyle of Torghast. We've addressed this by changing the mechanic. We'd love to hear your thoughts after trying out these changes. Now, for me, I didn't actually massively feel that there was a feeling of time pressure with the empowered bar. I felt like it was more a case of having to kill as much stuff as possible. And that actually, if you felt like you're playing with time pressure, you tried to complete Torghast as quickly as possible, you get a terrible score, unfortunately. So Yeah, anyway, the empowered bar is now more like a special meter than a streak or on fire bar. It's filled by performing actions that earn score. It does not decay over time. It does not decay with death. It fills up, it never unfills until I think you activate it now. Once you meet a certain threshold on the empowered bar, an extra action button appears that you can use to become empowered. You will remain empowered for a duration based on the amount of the bar that was filled. Empowered provides a number of combat bonuses that can be increased or added at the box of many things, which is basically this is like your talent tree for Torghast. So every time you do Torghast, you're going to get whatever the currency is, I can't remember, and you can use this to then unlock paths and talents in this box of many things, talent tree. So that's going to empowerment. All actions while empowered contribute to a score bonus at the end of the run. So I definitely think that what this is going to work like now is essentially it's essentially just an extra cooldown, right? You go and you clear through the floor a little bit, you get your empowerment bar filled up, then you do a big pull, group a bunch of stuff together, activate the thing and blow it up. I don't know. I obviously haven't played with it, so I'll reserve some judgment until then. My initial impression is I'm not too excited. At the very least for me, I know that people are really, really obsessed with this. They feel very strongly about this feeling of time pressure. A lot of people feel like, man, like Mythic Plus is like the race against the clock. I don't want this in other content. So you hear that really strongly. A lot of people feel very, very strongly about that. For me, I don't feel that way at all. Like, I really don't. I actually quite like the idea of having time pressure for Torghast, and having it be a challenge is kind of what I want. Like, for example, to me, people saying, oh man, I want to explore Torghast and exploration. To me, that doesn't make sense. It's like saying, I really enjoy exploring in Minecraft. It's randomly generated. It's just not that interesting compared to, let's say, Subnautica, which I played recently on stream. Subnautica is a great game to explore because it's handcrafted, and it's like you go and you explore a new area, and there's a really interesting thing with like story and lore and voice acting and loads of cool stuff built into it. That's fun. These randomly generated things to me aren't really interesting to explore, but it's interesting for like the challenge and like the crazy things that they can throw at you. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see. This, I don't really know if this particularly changes the gameplay. We will see. Yeah, I mean, it feels okay. I would have preferred like the whole I would have preferred if the empowerment thing, if they doubled down on it, because again, the problem to me was that the empowerment system was not actually, it just straight up wasn't a feeling of time pressure. It was like you just had to constantly be killing, so you just had to full clear these floors, basically, was how the score system worked. Go through, full clear the floor, which keeps your empowerment bar full, which gets you the maximum score. Go through, full clear the next thing, go through, full clear. So it wasn't about time pressure. It was just like, oh, I have to do everything. I actually would want more time pressure. Let me play with time pressure. That's my thoughts. We'll see. Guys, thanks for watching, though. Let me know what you think. Obviously, I'll actually test this stuff out, and we'll actually test out the new affix and see how they actually feel. But thank you for watching. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.